All right. Today is going to be lecture 6, test review. Now today we're going to be looking at questions from the test review. Since it's 20 questions, I'm probably just going to do the even ones and leave it at that. But what I've done is I put every single question on Canvas, and I've put up answers at the very end. So if you want to try the odd ones and then check yourself before you do the test, that'll be fine. But the test review has 20 questions. You don't have to submit that, but the test, which you're going to do today, is going to have 20 questions. You're going to have to submit that. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to show your work, you're going to show your answer, and then do that for all 20 questions. Okay? And that's going to be due on Sunday. So I thought today I'll just go over the test review and we'll look at how the questions work, what questions are actually going to be on the test, and how to do them. So let's look at number 2 from the test review. Number 2. All right, so number 2 says we have 2 on the outside and we have 4 plus 3 on the inside. So here we're doing order of operations. We're going to start with parentheses, move on to exponents, and then we'll do multiplication and division and addition and subtraction after that. So starting off with parentheses, I have 4 plus 3 inside parentheses, so I'm going to do that first. 4 plus 3 is 7. I'm going to keep that in parentheses, and then I'm going to multiply the 2 by the 7 to get 14. So that's our first answer. All right, for number 4, we have 4 plus 2 minus 5. Keep in mind that when we do addition and subtraction, we move from the left to the right. We move from left to the right. So whatever is on the left side, we do first, and whatever's on the right side, we do last. So 4 plus 2 is going to give me 6. And then I bring down my minus 5. And then 6 minus 5 is going to be 1. And that's my final answer for that one. So all we're doing is we're doing order of operations, moving from parentheses all the way down to subtraction. We do all the steps in order. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 says we have 7 plus 25 divided by negative 5 minus a negative 2. So keep in mind that when we do order of operations, we always do multiplication and division before we do addition and subtraction. So looking at this, which one are we going to do first? We're going to do the division, right? That's what's in the middle, 25 divided by negative 5. And we know that 25 divided by negative 5 is just going to be negative 5, right? So I can replace this entire fraction right here, numerator and denominator, with a negative 5. And then I still have this minus negative 2 over here. So now we only have addition and subtraction. We start on the left and then we move our way to the right. So coach, I have a 7 plus negative 5. Now, when I have 7 plus negative 5, what do you think that's going to be?
You're going to take the small number, which is 5, and take 5 from 7. It's going to be with 2.
2, that's right.
And go with the sign that is next to the largest of those 2, which is 7.
Yep.
That's positive. So, and then you're going to take the opposite of a negative 2 and make that a positive. So 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Right.
Final answer is 4.
That's good. So we have a minus negative 2. We have a minus negative 2 over here. So I'm just going to bring that down. And you know that when we have a double negative, that's essentially going to be a positive. That's going to give us 2 plus 2, which is going to be a positive 4. So that's pretty much all you're doing for the first 7 questions. You're doing order of operations. You're moving from parentheses to exponents, to multiplication and division, and all the way down to addition and subtraction. So that's 1 through 7. Now, the next section is going to be 8 through 13. So let's try those on the next slide. These are going to be combining like terms. So when we combine like terms, what we want to do is we want to take terms that end with the same variable put those together, and then take all the regular numbers that don't have variables and put those together. Let's look at number 8. I have 8n plus 2n. What do you think this is going to be? They both end in a variable, n, right? So we can add these together. What's 8 plus 2? That's going to be 10n. So that's going to be our answer for 8. Let's look at number 10. Number 10 says 6v plus 2v. Notice that both of these end with a v. That's the variable. They end in the same variable. That means that these are like terms. We can add them together and we can actually get something, right? 6v plus 2v, that's going to be 8v. And that's our final answer. Okay. And now let's look at 12. This one is going to be the most complicated one in the section. And you'll see why after I write it. So here I have a -7. And then on the inside, I have -9x plus 1. -9x plus 1. Now, when you have something on the outside and you have something on the inside of the parentheses, you know that you're going to do distributive property. So essentially, what I want to do is I want to take everything on the inside and I want to multiply it by what's on the outside. So I'm going to change my color to yellow and I'm going to draw some arrows. We want to multiply -7 by -9x. When we do that, we get positive 63x. So that's the first term. We multiply -7 by -9x. And now I need to multiply the -7 by the 1. Now, Coach, what happens when you multiply by a 1?
When you multiply with 1, that's going to make it 1 times the -7. It's going to be a -7.
Yeah. So multiplying by 1 doesn't really change anything, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay. So -7 times 1, that's going to be -7. And we're done. So that's number 12. You're essentially taking whatever's on the outside, that -7, and you're multiplying it by everything on the inside. And that's called the distributive property. The distributive property. So know that for the test. Okay? That is number 12, distributive property. Okay, let's look at 14 and 16. 14 and 16. Now for these, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to give you the expression and then I'm going to give you values for the variables. So for number 14, we have x minus, in parentheses, y minus 2. And in the problem, it says use x equals 6, and y equals 6. So these are basically going to be the same number. We're going to let x be 6, we're going to let y be 6, and then we'll see what happens. So basically, all we need to do with this is just put in 6 where the x is, and then put a 6 where the y is, and see what happens. So I'm going to replace x with a 6. And on the inside of this parentheses right here, I know I'm going to replace y with the 6. So this is going to be 6 minus 2. And now I just work it out the way I usually do. I start with parentheses first. So I'm going to do everything inside parentheses, and then I'm going to do everything outside of it. So I have 6 minus 2. What's 6 minus 2 going to be? Do you know this, Coach?
6 minus 2 is going to be 4.
Right.
And then bring down the 6 and the minus sign. And you got 6 minus 2, which was 4. Bring that down. 6 subtract 4 is going to leave you a total of 2.
Good.
Making sure you're using, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses goes is the first operation. And then do multiplication if you have it. In this case, we don't have multiplication or division. We have subtraction. Since we don't have exponents, we don't have multiplication, we don't have division, we've got subtraction. You always do it from left to right.
Good. So our answer is going to be 2. Let's look at 16. 16 is 5 plus y plus z plus z. And it tells us to use y equals 3, y equals 3, and z equals 2. So those are the numbers that we're going to use for the variables. So I have 5 plus y plus z. All I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the variables with the numbers that they give me. So I bring down my 5 first. I have plus y. I know that y is 3, so I'm going to replace y with a 3. And then I know that z is 2, so I'm going to replace z with a 2. And then I have 5 plus 3 plus 2. That's going to give me 10. So you work it out until you get a number for your answer, and then you'll be done. So for these problems, all you're doing is you're evaluating expressions. You're taking variables, you're replacing them with the numbers that they tell you they are, and then you work it out until you get a regular number. So that's 14 and 16. And then the last two we're going to do today are going to be 18 and 20 on the next slide. Okay, so 18 and 20, these are going to be a combination of combining like terms and distributive property. So let's take a look at 18. 18. This one says -6 times 8r plus 3 plus 6r on the outside. So for this one, notice that I have distributive property. I have a number on the outside, -6, and I have two terms on the inside. Now what I'm going to do is, with distributive property, I'm going to multiply -6 by everything that's on the inside. I'm going to multiply it by the 8r and by the 3. So what happens when I multiply -6 by 8r? Well, I'm going to get -48r. -48r. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the -6 by the 3. And I'm going to get -18. So that's the distributive property. I do that first. And then I notice I have a plus 6r over here. So I'm just going to bring that down. Now I'm ready to combine like terms. Combine like terms. Which terms are going to be like terms? Which terms are going to be like terms? I'll underline them in red so you can see them. Notice that 6r is going to end with a variable and -48r is going to end with a variable. So I'm going to put those two terms together. What's -48 plus 6? -42. And then, of course, the r is going to be attached. So I put the like terms together to get -42r. And then the -18, which isn't attached to a variable, none from what I can see, I just bring that down to my final answer and I'm done. So I need to bring down the -18. There's nothing else I can combine. 18 doesn't end with a variable, so I can't put these two together, so I'm done. My answer is going to be -42r minus 18. All right, let's do number 20 together. 20 says -8. And on the inside of the parentheses, I'm going to have 7n minus 5. 7n minus 5. With a plus 5n at the very end. Plus 5n. So what am I going to do first? I always use distributive property first. I have a -8 on the outside, and I have a 7n minus 5 on the inside. So I'm going to draw arrows from the -8 to the 7n, and from the -8 to the -5. Let's see what happens when we multiply. negative 8 by 7n. What happens when I multiply negative 8 by 7n? I'm going to get negative 56n. So that's the first term that I get. Now I multiply negative 8 by negative 5. What do I get for that, Coach?
Negative 8 times negative 5 is a positive 40.
Positive 40. Good. So that's my next term. And then the plus 5n is just kind of hanging out off to the side. I have to bring that down to my final answer as well. So I'm going to have a plus 5n at the very end. Okay. So which terms are going to be like terms? They're going to end with the same variable. So negative 56n, I'm going to put that with the 5n since they both end with an n. What happens when I add negative 56 to positive 5? I'm going to get negative 51n. And then the plus 40, I just bring that down, and I'm done. So that's number 20. My answer is going to be negative 51n plus 40. Okay, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. So when you do your tests, it's going to be 20 questions. Show your work for every single question, and make sure you upload that by Sunday. All right, so let's see what's going to be due on Sunday. You're going to have your algebraic expressions tests that you can do today, no problem. Algebraic expressions test. You can do that today. And then you got your domain and range. We're going to cover that on Wednesday. Domain and range. This one's not going to be a test. It's going to be a classwork grade. And we'll get that done on Wednesday. So I will see everybody on Wednesday. Class dismissed. If you have any questions, you can stay on and ask them. Just put them in the chat box, and I will get to you very shortly. Have a great day. See you guys on Wednesday.